Many blessings. This is VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching. So happy to be with you today and to share about the massive transformation coming with the lunar eclipse in Taurus. And wow, did you see the solar eclipse? Did you watch the footage of it? I watched it online. I wasn't able to see it in person, but I'm definitely going to be at the next one, which is going to be in the States, in Texas area in April. So I hope you can come to Texas and join us for the eclipse. I have a very special gift for you today. It's going to be some guitar to honor the Taurus archetype, you know, the singer, the dancer. That's where the eclipse is going to be. I'm a Taurus too, but I'm very excited to share about this eclipse because it's a really, really intense one, actually. And we're in the middle right now of this portal between the solar and lunar eclipses. So we're going to talk about all 12 signs, how they're all going to be affected by this eclipse, and talk about the general themes as well. And also the lead up to this eclipse, which is really strong this weekend as I'm recording this. If you do get a chance to see this, you know, the weekend before the eclipse, there's a lot of energy that's transiting and transforming as we move into the actual eclipse weekend. So it's a time where the shadows are, you know, starting to lurk and rear their ugly head, so to speak, but maybe they're necessary ugly heads, because this is a season where Mercury and the Sun are going to be squaring Pluto for the next week. And Pluto in modern astrology rules Scorpio or has affinity with Scorpio. And then it's leading to Mercury and Mars moving into Mercury moving into Scorpio, the Sun moving into Scorpio, Mars already in Scorpio. So we got a lot of that, you know, intense, sometimes dramatic, very cathartic energy of Scorpio coming in amidst this eclipse season. So again, my name is VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching. I'm a Western tropical astrologer. I also do a lot of work with locational astrology and human design, specifically a lot around business and helping people create their ideal business models, entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, using their astrology and human design, as well as finding the ideal places to live, travel, and find love and creativity around the world. I'm a nomad. I travel a lot around the world, about 45 countries. So I live locational astrology, and you'll see some other videos on my page about that. So if you're interested in readings, I do readings and I do ongoing coaching. So let me know, we can be in touch. And let's dive into the eclipses. I'm going to pull up the chart so you can see that here. And we're going to look at October 28th. So we're a week away. And it's got to move the Zoom window here. And we're going to see here. Now, here we see the moon. This is just before. Let's get an hour forward, and right here, you're going to see 5 degrees is going to be the exact opposition of the moon. And so we're at 5 degrees of Taurus. And this is a very intense eclipse because of the position of Mercury and Mars just within 6 and 5 degrees of the Sun, opposite the moon, and Jupiter opposing both Mercury and Mars and the Sun as well. So there's a lot to speak about with this. First of all, a lunar eclipse is, we call it the full moon on steroids. The energy is very, very intense. It's, you know, the most strong full moons of the year. There's always the theme of polarity, right, with a full moon. But with an eclipse, the polarity that's active is one that usually changes the course of our life in some way. And what's interesting about this eclipse is that it is the culmination moment of what's been happening over the last 2 years when the eclipses were in Taurus and Scorpio, or the South Node and the North Node were in Taurus and Scorpio. The South being in Scorpio, the North being in Taurus. Now that's shifted, and the South Node is in Libra, the North Node is in Aries. The South Node representing the karma, we call it the dragon's tail, or Ketu, the collective karma that we move through. The North Node being a sense of increase, or what we are collectively hungry for, which is known as the dragon's head. And so over the last couple of years, we've been dealing with a lot of those themes. Shadow work has been very important. How I work with resources, mine and others, is very Scorpio Taurus. Finances, obviously, right? Financial collapses or meltdowns, or, you know, what's happened with cryptocurrency. That's been really up for, you know, a lot of us who were invested, who have been invested, you know, seeing what's legitimate or not, right? Where there's hidden or, you know, shady or shadowy energies. That's really been up for the eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, but also how we access our power. Power with each other, power over each other. These are Scorpionic themes, as well as sexuality and sensuality. You know, Tantra has very much been growing, sacred sexuality. In fact, next week, I have a free workshop that's coming up about a program that I'm offering called Evolving Intimacy with Tantric Astrology. And I'll put the link in the chat. But this is going to be a free webinar where you're going to learn about the 6 authentic styles of relating according to your astrology, and also a lot of the areas we get stuck in around communication. And I'm very excited to relaunch a training around this coming in November. So stay tuned for that. But it's really a lot of what Taurus and Scorpio are about. Taurus is a lot about embodiment. Scorpio is a lot about psychology, right? Like why we act the way we do. And so we have this very interesting thing. Let me back this up before we get to the eclipse, to where we are over the week before the eclipse and how it's setting the stage for what's happening. So let's look at Sunday, the 22nd. And we see that this is a very significant moment because over the weekend, Mercury changes sign into Scorpio. And he'll be there for about 3 weeks in November and the end of October. He's going to join Mars, very important for our eclipse. And the sun comes to 29 Libra. The sun and Mercury have been on the south node. So there's been something karmic, something that needs to be resolved around our relationships. Libra, around the themes of balance and harmony and fairness and equality in relationship. And this is something that's really been up for all of us. Definitely the eclipse that just happened activated this, which is, am I giving too much away? Am I serving too in a way that I'm being depleted? Am I not receiving back proportionally what I'm giving? Maybe I don't know how to ask for what I need. That could be a very Libran theme. And with the Aries North Node, and you know that North Node in Aries is getting closer and closer to Chiron, and it's bringing us all to that sense of, wow, the coach, the guide, the mentor and healer in me is really trying to step out and up in the world. You know, I coach a lot of coaches, and this, I believe, over the next year, we're going to see almost everyone understanding that they are all coaches, right? Whatever you've developed service in, gift, passion around, you can offer that to the world. That's why the gig economy, like on Fiverr or Upwork or some of these online communities where you can offer your services, this way these are growing, and we're all realizing that we all need to be coached or mentored or seek that in different ways. So that's coming up for us. It got really hit by the recent eclipse, but it also means that we have to be willing to sometimes leave those relationships that aren't mutually supportive. This is very Aries, right? Like I got to follow my mission, my path, the fire that's being ignited in me, my leadership, right? And if I don't know how to do that right now, because maybe I've been supporting others too much, I've been in a 9-to-5 job, I've been in a relationship that just feels like it's going nowhere, it's not spiritually fulfilling or juicing me up, you know, sensually, you know, this eclipse season could really ask for a big change around that. We want to be inspired with this eclipse because Jupiter is opposite it. But before that, we have this Sun and Mercury squaring Pluto this weekend that I'm recording this, the weekend before the eclipse. And in a way, it hints at what's coming with the eclipse, because Pluto square to the Sun and Mercury makes us ask deeper questions. They assess why we're acting the way we do, or a partner is. And that partner could be a collaborator, it could be a colleague, someone in our professional lives, a coach. But, you know, if we've been diplomatic, if we've been sort of holding back a bit while Mercury and the Sun have been in Libra, over the next couple of weeks, we probably won't hold back anymore. And this is where we have to be careful, but not complacent. Something has been excavated, or is being excavated right now. We're looking at how we can be more empowered. We may need to research into our soul. We may need to study astrology more, or human design, or numerology. Any esoteric or occult topics are really coming up for us because they can reveal where we haven't maybe fully been authentic. Maybe we're not empowered because we don't know ourselves deeply enough. I'm about to release a journal about shadow work, and that's going to be really up for us in the next couple weeks, and definitely over the next month, really strong with this eclipse, because as soon as the Sun and Mercury and Mars are all in Scorpio, that's a triple, what we call stellium in Scorpio, which will start on the 23rd. We need to go into the depths and ask why. Scorpio is the sign of the researcher, the investigator, the shaman. But also, it's very aware of how it kind of undoes itself, self-destructive tendencies. And if it's not aware, then, the unconscious rises to the surface, usually through some intense experiences, confrontational experiences with others. And we're going to have some kind of confrontations in the next few weeks, definitely around the eclipse. So let's move it forward and let's see how the week, right? Sun, Mercury are getting closer and closer to Mars. By the eclipse on the 28th, you'll see that Mercury and Mars are very, very close to each other. By itself, Mercury and Mars, these can bring what we call fighting words, combative words, competitive words. So it could make us defensive around a certain perspective that we have. That perspective could be a certain philosophy or guiding sort of mantra for life, because Mars, Mercury are opposite Jupiter. And so whatever we believe Jupiter, we could get somewhat defensive about. That's one expression of this. But it could also compel us to deepen our queries, our investigation into what we believe, or faith itself. This could be a very this could test our faith. This could bring us deeper into a religious or spiritual pathway, whether that's, any of the religions or yoga or any philosophy that's guiding us. Jupiter might want us to integrate this to guide us through this portal. One of the pathways I love is Stoicism. It could be other philosophical pathways. But we want to let a sense of faith or philosophy or spiritual teaching take us deeper into our souls and allow us to access the unconscious. Now, this is the time of the year, right? We're approaching Halloween or, Samhain or the Day of the Dead. And this is always the time of the year where the veil is very thin. And so we do need to be aware that the ancestors are wanting to speak to us and through us. And that could be through certain spiritual lineages and traditions. So one of the best ways of working with this eclipse is to connect with the ancestors, to deepen our faith, go much deeper into our studies of the esoteric and the occult and the soul languages. We have a doorway into past lives. We have a doorway into our birth trauma. Scorpio is a sign that needs catharsis. Taurus is a sign that needs embodiment. So let's dance, right? Let's do breath work. Let's do shaking practices, neurogenic reprogramming, regenesis, all of that kind of shaking the energy out to, children do this, animals do this if they go through a trauma. And sometimes as we become adults, we forget that we can just shake it out, right? And so however you can exorcise and then exercise the energy will be very important during this cycle. Mercury could make us want to learn how to be more physical in a more transformative way. So that could be like, okay, I'm doing this intense training program, right? This is not kind of, I'm going to lift weights for 5 minutes. This is like a full cathartic rebirth, that I'm going to go through. I'm going to work with a trainer very deeply. I'm going to start doing martial arts again, or for the first time, Mercury, Mars, martial arts. Or I'm going to, Mars get motivated behind the research Mercury that's going to excavate deep into the soul. This is an archaeology of the soul moment, right? So we may want to study again, pathways of ascension, or deeper, soul mysteries or mystical teachings, psychology for sure, the work of Carl Jung and psychotherapy. So see where we're going with all this? And the idea is so that when we become reactive, because we will have tests of the soul during this time, and usually there's going to be some kind of confrontation through another, like a perspective, or it could be your significant other. It could be someone you're highly invested with, monetarily, financially, someone you live with, or work with. And the idea here is to allow the shadow to present itself and to integrate, to come into deeper wholeness, and to look at your triggers and ask, what's causing this, and to root it out. And usually there's an issue going on in childhood that may need to be resolved, and it comes up right now. There is, I think, a way that Jupiter in Taurus is actually wanting to remind us, and the moon in Taurus, to also create some comfort for ourselves, and to balance between, the foods and the time in nature and sensuality and dance and music that have that very Taurus, Venusian quality of being present, right? Whereas Scorpio oftentimes isn't as present. It can be worried about the future, or it can be holding on to a grudge or an energy from the past. And so we want to get into the body to transform. Somatic therapy could be great right now, but to transform what is something that we might be taking us out of the present. And so any paranoias, sorry about the light there, any paranoias or obsessions, right, that we might have, very Scorpionic, could come up. And it's like, okay, how can I let go of that? That's kind of draining my energy, right? But how can I also desire and move in the direction of depth and intimacy and authenticity in my connections? And through that, I become more empowered. And this could be a very ambitious energy, Mercury, Mars with Jupiter. There's, and if you are a teacher of some kind, it's a great time to get out and teach and share your wisdom with the world. There's a lot of energy behind this eclipse. And there's nothing passive about this. So again, being physical, exploring, healthy passion and sexuality, going on adventures, and adventures into the soul. This is really what's up with this eclipse. It's ruled by Venus. Venus is in Virgo. So, she is more critical in this sign. She is more trying to be more refined and to be of service. Be attentive to your food that you're eating, how you're eating it, your daily practice, your devotion, being of service to each other, and if the criticism is coming up, being kind with that, being gentle with that, asking before you offer that criticism. That's a big one with Venus and Virgo. But she ruled the last eclipse, and she's ruling this eclipse. So it's very significant. She does have a trine to Jupiter. Let's look at this right here. Jupiter is at 11. Venus is at 18. That trine is coming in the days before. So the week leading into the eclipse. So that's helpful. Venus and Jupiter are the planets we tend to love the most, and give us I mean, they're in earth signs, so this could be a week where we can seek for more abundance, more stability in our life. You know, Scorpio, Taurus are fixed signs and they want stability. And so wherever stability isn't happening in your life, we need to examine that during this eclipse. Then we may need to look for that support and that dedicated daily practice to creating more stability, financial, relational, with our soul, with our awareness of our patterns, with our shadow, create more stable relating around those patterns in our life. And make sure to like get outside and be with the earth, and feel into like what can bring more of that stability to my life and how can I do that every day. All right, so I think it's time to look at the individual charts, so the individual signs, how they're going to be affected by this eclipse. And a reminder, we're going to do an embodiment practice with music, with writing, with dance, with reflection on our free training next week for the eclipse. So it's on Thursday, the 26th. I hope you'll join Evolving Intimacy with Tantric Astrology. It's going to be very fun. We're going to talk about how we can merge sacred sexuality and relationship astrology. And it's one of my deepest passions. It's why I became an astrologer, was learning about Mars and Venus and how they reflect the archetypes of the masculine and feminine in our lives. So I'm going to sip water and share with you, you know, when we look at the individual signs, the most accurate description is going to be your rising sign. Then we would look at the sun. You could look at the moon as well if it's in this sign, but it's really strongest around the rising sign and the house that these eclipses will land in. Now, the eclipse that is in Taurus is an energy in your life, a house that's been, you know, something you've been working with for, again, the last couple of years with the eclipses here. So this is going to be familiar territory. And like we said, it's like the completion. And, you know, with an eclipse, it's like fruit has ripened and it's going to fall. And so it's like, what part of me feels like it's completing or culminating a cycle in my life? Now, this cycle will have connections to what was happening 9 years ago when the eclipses were in the opposite houses, and also 19 years ago. That's the cycle of the nodes. So you can reflect on that. And also think about where Jupiter's been going. It's actually in the same house. So there can be, again, a certain kind of fruition or completion, a letting go, a release around this house. But also, interestingly, wherever Jupiter is, and the eclipse, it's a little bit ironic because there is something completing, but Jupiter is also growing that energy and expanding it in some way. So how do we want to merge those energies of growth, expansion, opportunity where Jupiter is, and also this eclipse? It seems to be like, it's the end of a story here. And maybe Jupiter wants to give a sense of faith or possibility. Again, he's still in Taurus until May, June of next year. So, you know, we'll see again 6 months from now, this storyline completing as Jupiter completes his journey through Taurus. So let's start here with Pisces rising, which is just this exact moment here of this eclipse. So for Pisces, the eclipse is landing in your third house, and the third house, where Jupiter is as well, is the area of, you know, ideas and information. And this has been an area that you need to look at what's culminating here. Like maybe I've been learning something, I'm going through some trainings, or maybe I'm learning what I want to offer others, like how I want to share or synthesize information that I've been learning. This will highlight communication for you as well. And I think there's probably a desire to be teaching something as well with Jupiter here. So think about what is wanting to emerge for you, or kind of maybe over the last couple of years, you've been offering some ideas and learning some really inspiring teachings that you can offer to others. Maybe some work with your siblings as well coming up with this. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is some kind of trainings that you get called to at the end of this year. So if we go forward, I'm going to change this into the hours here. And so Aries rising, the eclipse is going to be in your second house. And this is also where Jupiter is, expanding and growing your sense of value and self-worth. And this is potentially a time where you could be earning a lot more money. Now, Jupiter, I've seen in the second house, you can spend and earn more. So be aware. I mean, this is the second and eighth houses are the realms of resources. My personal resources, the second house, eighth house, resources I share with others. This is very up for you, Aries rising and Libra risings as well, because look at all the planets in the eighth house, other people's resources, blending of resources with others. That could be assets, that can be, wealth through investments versus my own, the second house. So this is very, very much about money and finances for you, Aries rising and Libra rising as well. And so how solid do you feel with that? Is money coming in? Do you need fast cash? Are you being coached around money? Do you coach others around this? Do you need to do some financial planning or strategizing, right? And I would always suggest too, I mean, the birth chart is one of the best ways to budget and to look at how you work with your resources, how you can make more money, how you spend it. So that's a lot of work I do with my business coaching clients as well. So definitely look into how you're working with your resources and how solid they feel. Now, Taurus rising, this eclipse is in your first house. This is going to bring up your image, how you're presenting yourself, usually also our body, right? A physical body. And so you might feel, typically with eclipses, it's intensity. I mean, you might feel, I wouldn't say heaviness, but there's something going on with your body. And be careful with the food that you eat during this eclipse. You sometimes, you might be drawn to more of the sensual foods or the fine foods or the wine or the chocolate or the desserts. Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus wants the tasty things. So I'm not saying to deny that, but be aware of the effects of that, sugar, these types of things. But again, Jupiter's in your first house, and with this eclipse and so many planets in your seventh house, you might be looking at significant relationships that are about collaborations, or this could be really, really highlighting your own intimate love relationship or spouse relationship. And likely there's some contrast or issue that comes up during this time. It could be confrontational. Again, you want to be careful with Mercury, Mars in your seventh house, that you're not having that kind of, verbal battle, abusive type of communication. And as Seneca, the wise Stoic philosopher, talks about, anger is best dealt with through delay. So if we get triggered, exhale, take a deep breath, pause, even walk out of the room if you need to. Communicate that you need to walk out of the room before you do it. If you can't handle the energy that's happening in that moment, then really it's really, really helpful to breathe out and just say, I cannot talk about this right now. I'm too triggered. I would like to discuss this with you, and let me have a moment, right? Now I do a lot of work with human design, and this is really important for people who are emotionally defined, because oftentimes we do have sometimes a volcanic experience, a cathartic type of emotion that we can't maybe process fully in the moment. Emotionally defined people, which are half the world, that's the solar plexus. If you're looking at the body graph on the right side, you would see that. If that's defined in you, you need time to get clear. And it's really often better to not try to process an emotion in the moment. And if you're with a partner who has this energy and you don't, there can be some struggle there. I really like working with couples with human design, because a lot of times if you see that you don't have that solar plexus emotional center defined, but your partner does, it can be difficult to be patient enough for them to ride their emotional wave. And again, I invite you to next week's talk and to delve into your human design and your astrology of partnership during this season, because it's going to come up, and especially for Taurus risings and Scorpio risings, where so much energy is happening in the realms of intimacy and relationship, and how I show up and how you show up, and our balance in that. So definitely strong here for Taurus risings. Gemini risings, we're looking at the eclipse in the 12th house. And I think that this might bring up, that there has been a sense over the last couple of years of maybe being a little detached from the world, or some things that maybe professionally haven't worked out as well, or even relationally. It's not like a lot of forward movement. It's a lot more internal movement. Could be a time where you're getting closer to God, to spirit. The 12th house is a very mystical domain. It does relate to the archetypes, the dreams, the myths. It can also relate to foreign cultures. I'm a Gemini rising. I've spent a lot of the last 2 years abroad. And there is sometimes a feeling of being lost in that, and of being found, but the being found is a different kind of experience. It's an internal landscape that we navigate. This could be good for artistic expression, but it's not like artistic success out in the world. It's much more like, you write a lot of poetry, or you're reading and writing fiction, or stories are coming through you, but that doesn't mean they're coming out into the world. The 12th house is not out in the world, it's more in retreat. So it could be a time to go on retreats. And I'll be at a festival and a retreat during this eclipse. So that's really interesting as a Gemini rising to see that, of course, in my own chart. But there has been, a lot of soul growth with Jupiter here, but that can frustrate the ego. So, and this could bring up some health issues, some, need to be of service more, to just dissolve the ego a bit. So that would be for Gemini rising. Now, if we look at Cancer risings, the 11th house is where the eclipse is happening. The Taurus eclipse, Jupiter there, Uranus there. So much community is up for you, Cancer rising. You're such a family-oriented sign. And this is about finding our extended families, our tribe, our community, the people that we really resonate with, that we feel a lot of, like we share the same goals and causes. And that's really growing for you. So, and it might be kinds of community that you keep like evolving, and it's almost like a revolution for you. You may not have expected that these are your people, right? And that's because Uranus is there as well. Jupiter's there. You'll have a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction here in spring of next year, and I imagine that there's a lot of growth for you. It's quite auspicious to have Jupiter there. That it's really important for you to find your people and to network, to affiliate. If you are a coach of any kind or a healer, you probably have your own business as an entrepreneur. So this could be very much like joint venture partners. I do that with other coaches as well. And this would be definitely an eclipse to be, who's on my team? Maybe need to hire a team, but also like, who's your affiliate, right? And do you have an affiliate program for your work? That could come up right now. And it's also so that you can be more creatively fulfilled and serving your community. So big eclipse for you, Cancer risings. Now, Leo risings, this is also really big, because that means that the eclipse in Taurus is going to be in your 10th house of career. Jupiter is also there, expanding, growing. Uranus, innovating, bringing fresh ideas and experiments in your career. It's quite exciting, but this is also a question of stability, right? A lot of energy in your 4th house. I wonder if for you Leo types, there's a desire to move, or that's happened in the last year or two. Have you stabilized the new space? If not, where do you need to go? When do you need to go? let's talk about locational astrology. You know, that's what I've been doing for 16 years. That's how I choose where I go. That can be really helpful if you are in a move. And a lot of the times when the eclipses are in the areas of the 10th house of career, that means the 4th house of the home is getting hit. It also means the angles of partnership and the self, the identity, are being hit. So we imagine that there's a lot of energy moving for you, Leo risings. You want to make sure that you know, your home is helping you grow your career and be feeling like you're more inspired. This should be a cycle of teaching or offering more to people. Maybe you're publishing books or broadcasting, blogging, vlogging more. But there's something really inventive coming through too, that I think over the next month, you know, you're gonna want more freedom. So maybe this is about passive income, residual income, and creating streams of that in your life. If you're not doing that, let's think about doing that, right? And yeah, this could be very important for your role as a leader. Are you speaking? You know, is that part of your business model, whatever you're doing? Maybe it should be, right? With Leo rising, right? Being in front of people more, especially when an eclipse is happening in the very visible 10th house. And then let's look at the energy of Virgo rising. So Virgo's, you know, Venus is in your 1st house right now, and that's significant because it does bring a sense of wanting to be more attractive, more beautiful during this month, particularly. And since she's ruling the eclipse, it's important, you know, to look at her. And so your work of being in sacred service is really up. But there's a new way of doing that. And maybe you want to change your style a bit, or feel more sensuality move through you. The eclipse is landing in your 9th house. And then the 3rd house has a lot of activation, right, from all the Scorpio planets right here. And so I wonder if, like, this is also about marketing and sharing ideas with others, 3rd, 9th house axis, or travel. I would not be surprised if you're considering, or you are abroad. The 9th house is the land of, or it's about foreign lands, exotic cultures, but it's more about spiritual pilgrimages, meaningful trips, you know, something like a yoga retreat or a 10-day of Vipassana somewhere that really changes us and can open our spirits in a lot of ways. You could be offering these in a big way, and maybe in a revolutionary new way, with Uranus bringing experimentation into your 9th house. I definitely think if you've considered writing a book, this could also be really up for you with this eclipse cycle. Maybe that's coming to a fruition for you. If you haven't yet done that, consider it. Consider, it doesn't have to be a 500-page book, you know. It could be a short manual. It could be a, you know, maybe you have a PDF document as a free gift on your website if you're a coach of some kind or an entrepreneur. You know, that's sharing a certain philosophy or teaching that you know, sharing some of your wisdom, which is this eclipse in the 9th house. So yeah, I've written 2 books, and it is very important that you do have a structure around that, you know. Saturn's in your 7th house of partnership. So this does bring up some issues around, you know, having more business relationships or serious relationships. And if they're not sustainable, if they don't have foundation under them, Saturn might want you to get out of those relationships and to build more solid, reliable partnerships in your life. And that could mean coaches and teachers and very successful people that you respect that could help you share your message with the world in a bigger way. So that's for Virgo risings, Virgo types. And Libra. Well, now we have the opposite of what we were saying with Aries rising. But it's still the 2nd and 8th houses. And, you know, this has, again, been big the last couple years. We love the fact that Jupiter's in your 8th house usually, because that's a great time if we need to get investments or take out a loan or benefit from inheritance or someone we know or a partner, that can be happening. And I'd say there's something going on around that sphere for you right now. I'd love to hear if this is true for any of this stuff in the comments. Please put them in the comments, because it's really wonderful to have feedback on how these energies are showing up. And since this Taurus eclipse has really been with us for 2 years, Jupiter's been here for 6 months, this energy is not new for most of us. It is actually, again, a culmination moment. So it seems like for you, Libra risings, how have you been dealing with, investments, assets? Has there been a lot of changes there with Uranus in this house for quite a few years? Or have you stabilized that part of your life? And what feels like very solid, reliable, sustainable, thriving for you around your own values and your own earnings of money, your own finances versus the finances or investments that you have shared? There is a sense that the shared resources have some kind of growth going on right now, but there's a balance going on. And this should be a month where you are actively trying to earn more. Yeah, and again, there may be some downloads, Venus in your 12th house, coming from spirit on how you can earn more resources. Maybe you work with the goddess Lakshmi, goddess of abundance. You do more mantras. One of the names of Allah is Al-Muni or Al-Yani, which are names that signify the enricher, that, of course, we're given everything in our lives, and if we find a high-end client we work with, or a new way of running our business, or, that's come through us, right? It's been a gift from beyond. So this could be a really great time to maybe do a vision board or do more meditative practice around your abundance, given that Venus, ruler of the eclipse, is in your 12th house. So that would be a suggestion for you, Libra risings. And you were just hit by the big eclipse. So this is also, obviously going to be bringing up relationships for you. Making sure that, you have a relationship that is spirit-led first. That's really up with this eclipse, this whole season for you. Now, Scorpio, well, 7th and 1st house is being hit. As for Taurus, this is definitely all about relationships for you. And it has been, right? And we're looking at what's changed in your life the last year around relationship. I'm sure so much has. This can be a very activating time, a leadership time for you, with a lot of energy in your 1st house. It's a rebirth time of the year for you, Scorpio risings, always during this time of the year when the sun is in your 1st house. But also Mars, Mercury here. Now be careful to not be too forceful, too aggressive, too pushy with all this energy. But don't hold back. And there are some really expansive, inspired relationships for you all around this eclipse. Jupiter there in your area of partnership. If there are changes happening for you, the question to ask is, what relationships bring spiritual growth into my life, a sense of purpose, a sense of greater meaning? Sometimes Jupiter gets us out of relationships that aren't fulfilling our spirit and our souls. Maybe we want to travel. Maybe we want to have more meaningful conversations. Maybe we want to have more philosophy guiding our connection. And that's not happening. And Jupiter wants that to happen for you over this next 6 months and this last 6 months. And with this eclipse touching that Jupiter, it might change that if that's not happening. If it is happening, this could be really wonderful energy. And you might have a renewal of your faith. You might take a trip with a partner, have some exciting experiences, some breakthrough experiences, new kinds of sexual or sensual experiences. That would be a great way to celebrate this eclipse season for you, Scorpio risings. And Sag. We're almost at the end here. Sag, we have the eclipse This is sort of opposite Gemini, but the eclipse is in your sixth house here. Excuse me. And this is the area of health, illness, and also service, daily practices. So Sag, it's like a lot of times we don't like to maybe clean up the house or, get into a regular regimen. Sagittarius likes to just fly at the seat of its pants a lot of the time and literally fly around the world. This eclipse is more about getting down to the work, getting into a regular regimen. I always like to recommend, also because Venus is in your 10th house, she's ruling the eclipse. It's the area of career. You could be bringing in more abundance with this. You could be working with more women during this eclipse and the months after. But I like to recommend a sixth house eclipse as get into the details, get into the nitty gritty, create a plan for your day, buy a planner, right? Plan the day, plan the week, plan the month, plan the year. I do this work with clients called time mapping, with your astrology chart. That might be really cool for you, Sag, where we get into just structuring your weeks and your months. Not usually how the intuitive Sag likes to live, but this eclipse could really bring it up, and it could bring a lot more success into your life if you are doing that. Now, there could be something going on in the home space. Saturn is there. Maybe you need to work on the home. Could be a move, but it could be more about renovation, or maybe you're working out of your home more, or there's something going on with the family of origin that requires a lot of work from you. And so I think it's like reining the Sagittarian energy in right now. So be sensitive to that. And yeah, it's okay to slow down at certain times. And this might be a time that you do that. Now, you'll have a lot more energy when December comes in, end of November, lots of planets moving into your first house. So you'll kind of have a moment of rebirth as you do at the end of every year. But right now, taking care of your health, regular practice every day, just maybe more work, right? But hopefully it's work that you love, and you could be earning more through it. And if you're not, let's look at restructuring your business or your practice so that you are earning more. If you're trading time for dollars, let's change that business model into results that you can offer your clients, and focusing on that. In Capricorn, the eclipse is actually in your fifth house. Now, this could suggest, something with your children. Maybe they're going through a really intense process. But I mean, Jupiter is there, Uranus is there. There may be a lot of growth happening for your children. It could be your own inner child that's wanting to grow. So are you being more creative? Are you playing more, more romance in your life? Beautiful. Let's bring that energy in with this eclipse. And again, it signified something. Maybe you've been in a creative process over the last couple of years that is culminating. There's something maybe you're looking at around community right now too, and how you maybe are stepping up to share your expression around your community. Is your creative process connected to your spiritual path right now, to maybe some foreign travels, or to some higher education or learning process you're going through with the Venus-Saturn energies in the 3rd and 9th house? That would be something to look at as well, Capricorn rising. So, I know we like to work hard, Capricorn, but this could be a time where you need to be playing, and maybe your play infuses your work. And lastly, Aquarius risings, we have a significant eclipse in your 4th house. And as we said, 4th, 10th house, often we have a shift in our home space. It could be something to do with our family of origin. It could bring up issues with our mom or our father, ancestral work, especially at this time of the year. Could also mean that we are physically moving, and where can you find your tribe and your community? Always a big concern, Aquarius rising. Venus ruling the eclipse is in your 8th house. So you may be earning some resources through connections in your life. You may be looking at those investments that you share. You may need to be doing some deep soul work. And this might be, again, related to where you live, who you live with. And so let's look at those themes being really up for you. You want to be living in an environment that feels really expansive and inspired. This is Jupiter in your fourth house, this whole year into May of next year. So typically I see Jupiter there, and we do often move, and we want to live somewhere with a big vista or more land, or a feeling of like, my soul can grow here. So that is probably up. And if you're considering a move, I always recommend Locational Astrology, AstroCartography, which I have some links to, and I'd love to help you with. So we've covered it. We've covered all the signs where this lunar eclipse is happening. This is a very, very strong eclipse. Remember, lots of oppositional energies, very ambitious. Remember that if you're going too deep in and you're getting stuck there, hug a tree, dance, get in your body, eat really nourishing food, get a massage. If you're in a partnership, invite in very deep intimacy, alchemical sexuality, tantra, sacred sexuality. Join us next week on the Thursday, the 26th, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 Eastern, 10, 1, and 6 UK. It's going to be a really fun experiential class, and we're gonna be launching a new program coming with that. So I hope you'll consider joining us as we dive into relationship astrology very, very deeply, and look at our soul contracts together, and see how astrology can support us in honoring those soul contracts. So much love to you, and surprise, we got our song for Taurus. So stay present for our last meditation, and I invite you to be with whatever you've learned here today about these eclipses in your chart. I'll stop the share. I'm going to change the audio setting because we need to do that on Zoom to be able to hear the guitar. So give me 1 second. And let this energy, if you feel like you want to move, if you feel like you want to dance, feel free to do that. If you want to quiet your mind and go within and close your eyes, do that as well. So this is a new song that's come on this trip. It actually came in Greece recently. And I invite you to be with the energy of Taurus, sensuality, of embodiment, but also of Scorpio, of depth, of power, of psychological rebirth, of alchemy. Namaste. This is VerDarLuz, Divine Timing Coaching. Enjoy Celestial Guitarra. Celestial. Happy eclipse season to you. Check out the music below, celestial.com. Lots of ambient soundscapes, guitar. Enjoy the eclipse. May it bring you power and inspiration. Namaste. All the best.